you've really got to be willing to die for your product. You literally have to be ready to put your life on the line. And that night, I sent myself over 100 emails through the night. If you're having any issues, there's no one to talk to. There's no one to help you. We started building the pipe around 3 years ago. It took a long time just to design the app because bringing self-assessment all into one app, there's a lot of income types, there's a lot of different nuances. So HMRC, obviously, 27 years old, a £1 trillion budget. They haven't been able to build a self-assessment app. Still with HMRC's tax app, 5 million users, you can't use your app to do your return. So the first challenge is to design the flow of users. Obviously, if you're employed or self-employed, there's different kind of user cases. So, for example, getting the data for employment is totally different to self-employment. You can't use your transactions because the transactions in your bank is net, not gross. So all of these kind of different scenarios we have to play out and design and map those out and how it looks for a user. And obviously there's 34 different income types in the UK. There's 10 million words in the UK tax code, so it's a very complex task to try and encompass all in one app. So a year of design, 2 years of development. The app went live in November 2023, so just over a year old, and we've had great success. Initially, it was more of a testing phase in the real world. How does it flow? How do people onboard? How do they reconcile? Is there lots of success stories, or is there some stumbling blocks and some paywalls in the way? I think the biggest change that we learned is we surveyed every single customer when they left the app. Mm-hmm. And we asked, why did you leave us? And there was only 2 reasons. And that was because the price, even though it was only £5, people were very prudent, they didn't want to pay £5 a month. Mm-hmm. And they only need to use the app once a year. So our entire model of being a subscription-based product didn't work. So we had a really big think. We collaborated. We had lots of meetings with everyone, and everyone kind of had their own input. And we decided to simplify our pricing. So there's only 2 products. That's tax support, or we do it for you, and have the app completely free. And it makes complete sense because you think about every great product in history, your Google, Spotify, Instagram, Facebook, Meta, TikTok, it's all free. Mm-hmm. The best products out there, they have this pricing innovation, they have this very high user growth model where you don't try and damage the user experience, you don't try and add any paywalls or try and sell too early. You onboard the users, provide great value, and at the end of the product, they use it and they tell their friends. Yeah. And then there's an opportunity at the end, a big opportunity commercially in 4 or 5 years if you've got millions of users to find monetization options elsewhere. And if you look at like Telegram, for example, they took 8 years. So that's, I think, our biggest learning curve. And since we've gone for the free model, I mean, our customers have probably 5x'd. So We've got 589% quarterly growth. The garden is a quote that I love to use. There's a famous quote by one of my favourite poets called Mario Quintana. He says, it's actually true for any walk of life. It's like, don't go chasing butterflies. Build a great garden, a beautiful garden, they'll come to you. So if you think about that in a product perspective, if you don't really need a big marketing strategy, you don't really need a great sales strategy. It goes against everything everyone always says, marketing and sales is crucial. If you focus on making the features amazing, the price amazing, user journey, the design, then people, and that's true for all customer types. It's true for attracting investors. It's true for attracting customers, even staff. So if you make a great product, it sells itself, and that's what you really have to focus on. I use an analogy of product is like personality, and makeup is like marketing. Makeup may attract the person, but it's personality that keeps you there. The product has to be amazing. The personality has to be good. The price you pay for being an entrepreneur. Whoa, this is a serious one.
Deep, yeah.
Yeah. So I think people will never really truly understand the pain that's involved in being an entrepreneur. And I think the biggest pain is that you're at the very top of every problem. And there's no one to go to, there's no one to speak to, there's no one to solve your problems. You have to solve every problem yourself. And if you don't solve every problem, then the business crashes. So you need someone that has a personal vested consequence of it failing. Someone that literally will lose it all. And that drags the business forward. It drags the business because someone's always trying to solve the problems. No one can walk away. And when founders leave businesses, there's a very important stat that businesses that have the founder, they grow 300% bigger than a non-founded business. It's extremely challenging. It doesn't stop. day and night. You think about your business and you can't even choose to switch off because your brain will just automatically think about, okay, what about this, what about that? But alternatively, inversely, the rewards are amazing. When it does go right and you have some success and you have some adoption, then you feel very proud about the product you've built through your own ideas and your hard work. The rewards are intertwined with the pain, but the pain is severe. And it reminds me of this Thanos quote that I always say to people. It's, you may win, but at what cost? I think as an entrepreneur, it's learned behavior. So even though you have success and you reach your goals, you always want to challenge yourself more and more and more. And I think as long as it makes you happy and you enjoy the challenge, I think it's okay to keep pushing yourself more and more. I'm as smart as I ever will be. I'm as hungry as I ever will be. So why sit on a beach and retire when there's big challenges that you could know, mountains that you could move? So I think it's a case of it's not about satisfaction. It's about having something to strive for, having something really, really to push yourself to kind of really break the mold.
And I think if you was lying on a beach, you'd probably be bored after a certain time.
Yeah, I think after a certain time, it would probably take me about 6 months to recover from the last 10 years. But I think, ultimately, so as a human being, you want to be challenged. You don't want it easy. Yeah, so as an interesting, almost like a social conscious that you develop as being an entrepreneur and a founder, you have this solution-based mindset. Whenever you see a problem, you want to find a solution. You want to solve the problems. You remember Elon Musk when the kids in Thailand, they got trapped in the cave. He immediately tried to send help. And I think as an entrepreneur, I think a true entrepreneur is a problem solver. I think there's a difference between an entrepreneur and a businessman. I think your Richard Bransons, your Jeff Bezoses, your Zuckerbergs, they don't really solve problems. They've had a great business. They were first to market, or they were the best to monopolize their markets, because Facebook wasn't the first social media app. I think I go back to my point about price innovation. Facebook kept it as free as long as possible, and that's where the MySpace, etc., went wrong. I don't think they're entrepreneurs personally. I think when they do try to build a new product or an industry, they fail.
That's quite a big statement.
Here's a big statement. Zuckerberg lost billions on his MetaQuest. It's a really poor product. It's not going to get adoption. Whereas your Elon Musk's, he's 5 or 6 companies now. He's actually founded 6 different companies, all billion-dollar companies, all in different industries. But my point about there's an incredible pain that you experience is when you try to solve problems, sometimes there are problems that you can't solve. And you feel pain and you feel guilt that you couldn't solve them problems. Although there's ways you could get to solve those problems, it may need, significant investment, it may need to raise capital, you may need to hire staff. So you can always work towards those problems and those solutions. Some stuff you can't solve, and you do feel a pain, I think, as an entrepreneur, you do feel a guilt from that.
So your mind has been conditioned then, you think?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I'm from a very working class background, very underprivileged background, and grew up in poverty. And my poverty, I always say, is a blessing. It gave me a hunger and it gave me really appreciation of nice things. But ultimately, as you grow older and you keep trying and you keep pushing, you keep creating ideas and you keep trying different businesses, etc. When your mindset's built like that from a very long time, even if you do make it in business, your brain's been wired to always think in an entrepreneurial mindset. So that learned behavior is like a dog, right? When there's Pavlov's bells, when there's a bell ringing, they associate with dinner time. When you've been trying to constantly solve problems, like when it snows, for example, I'll be thinking, can I buy some salt? What's the price of a bag of salt? Can I sell that for double the amount? Even when I see a weather forecast, it's that always trying to monetize every situation. It's a mindset that you develop and you can't unlearn. I'm certain there's a number of different laws in play here with our business. So we use first principles, which is a very popular term. I don't think Elon Musk coined it, but I think he uses it a lot in his business. It's because you're building from scratch and you're starting from zero. You don't follow the bad decisions and the bad models and the bad processes of previous businesses. You have first principle thinking. So rather than have a tax app like our competitors have, it's a crowded space and you just compete with the profits, you build a new industry. You build a vertically integrated industry or a business and you offer software, you offer tax support, you own the whole supply chain, you have no third-party APIs. And when you adopt first principles, you have a moat, because when the business comes to try and compete with you, because you offer software and you offer tax support, you could give away one for free. And also, the one thing that money can't buy, because our competitors have hundreds of billions in the bank, Intuit's worth 170 billion, 20 billion revenue, 5 billion free cash flow. You can't compete with that. But what you can compete with is money can't buy time. Look at blockbusters. They had time in the market and had more money than Netflix. Netflix beat them. Innovation. This is the free market and the best product wins. Innovation, you have to innovate or you die. So we've collected data for 5 years now. We've been serving customers, getting all their questions, all their problems, finding solutions and training our data. So if a business were to compete with us today, we've got a 5-year head start with data. And that data is our protection. So I'm very confident that no one can compete with us. Obviously, it takes a significant amount of investment, time, money. We've got the best developers. I mean, a competitor, Coconut, that tried to build an app like ours, not as sophisticated, not as many features, went bankrupt. £2.5 million, sold for Ghost and Protect for £1. It demonstrates a great success that we've had with our app, and we don't rest on our laurels. We keep innovating every single day. So again, going back to first principles and creating a new market to monopolize the market. Tax software is crowded. You have Xero, Sage, QuickBooks, all worth tens, if not hundreds of billions. They deal with business taxes. They master that. And there's a massive, again, going back to my point about competing away profits in the free market, it's crowded. They're offering a 90% discount, £1 a month. And that just destroys your business model. We can't compete with that. They've got time in the market. They've got better products. So you build a new market. So we're the first app in the world to deal with just personal tax. And we've completely digitalized personal tax. So there's no more paperwork, no more receipts, and there's no more spreadsheets. So what that does is it makes tax returns much simpler and easier to do, but also more accurate. And most people nowadays have multiple incomes. You know, people side hustles, they might be selling on Vinted. They might be having some bank interest. And there's no app out there that can handle multiple incomes. And Gen Z, you know, more than ever now, more income. So if you've got QuickBooks and you have a bank interest, you have a student loan or child benefits, you can't use their app. You have to go away and still do self-assessment. So our app is the first to have all these different, that's our USP, all these different income types. One app, one place for it all.
Yeah, but there's so many people now doing social influencing that need to do the tax return.
Exactly. Yeah, so there's a famous quote by Mark Anderson, I believe early LinkedIn founders, and when he looks for an investor, he looks at the obsession of the founder, and he looks at how much of their time is consumed by the business.
That makes sense, to be fair.
Yeah, you do want someone that's vested and works above and beyond, and he says he wants someone that can work. It's the last thing he thinks of when he goes to sleep, and it's the first thing he thinks of when he wakes up. That's how he wants his founder to think. There's actually one that's actually slightly more unhealthy to that, which is I'm at a stage where I can't sleep because I'm constantly thinking about the business. I'm constantly thinking about the problems, what's the solutions, what are my competitors doing, how can I improve the app? And you know, you might wake up at like 3 a.m. and you're like, oh, I forgot this. And I think that's the stage I'm at now, where I'm constantly waking up. I have ideas. I mean, there was one time I went to London to meet one of my colleagues, and we're talking about social media and such, and the things that he had done for social media. And I showed him my Gmail.
Yeah.
And that night, I'd sent myself over 100 emails through the night.
Oh my God.
And I know it was 100 emails because Gmail sort their emails into 50 emails at a time. And I could click twice, and every single list of emails was an idea. And I was like, that's not healthy. So that was more about the social media gurus and how to make a viral video and what's the 500 best hooks and what's the visual hook, what's the caption. That was one exceptional night. It doesn't happen every night, but I think that's an example of the challenges of constantly, you know, your mind can't rest.
Yeah, it's like a computer with too many windows open.
Yes. I think the biggest psychological problem with being a founder is you get all of the business problems, you get all of people's personal problems. So people really underestimate the personal issues of staff members. You know, they're humans, you know, they have feelings. I'll give you an example, like I would have an idea and I'd write a quick message to someone saying, did you do this? And it's like, first message they receive. And on their side, it looks rude. It's like there's no hello, there's no small talk, you know, how you doing, good weekend. And people do get their back up. And I learned that kind of like, I do need to kind of make more of an effort to do the small talk because it can look rude. But ultimately, I've got hundreds of messages and ideas and I'm just trying to pass them forward. My point about you're not allowed to hurt is when you get people's personal problems, and it could be, you know, their kid is sick or, you know, their someone in the family has died, things that really are not related to your business that you can't really help out with. If you're hurting, if you've got problems, if your family is ill, if you're having any issues, there's no one to talk to. There's no one to help you. You're on your own. And I think there's a lot of research now about mental health of founders. And again, it's the price you pay, right? It's the Thanos quote. It's you may win, but at what cost? So I always think logically. I always think, what's the solution? Let's work towards a solution. There's no point getting upset, no point getting emotional. What's the problem? Can I solve it? And if I can't solve it, then just move on. There's a really good quote that I love, and it's, "Lord, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I can't change, the courage to change the things that I can change, and the wisdom to know the difference between the two." And that's quite powerful, because it just means that you can solve problems that you can solve or move on. And it's just identifying the ones that you can solve that are in your control.
Yeah.
So, but I feel very privileged to be where I am. I feel very fortunate as people in the world that are really suffering. So in context, when you put things in context, you're actually, things are better than you think. VCs in England really frustrate me. And the venture capital industry in general frustrates me in Europe. And you can see why we're so far behind USA. I don't think England will ever have a $1 trillion business. And the reason being is because VCs are so short-sighted. They don't see the bigger commercial opportunity, the longer-term opportunity with high user growth model businesses. An example I give is Facebook had 5.5 million users before they monetized the product platform. Threads now have 300 million users, and they haven't even got a strategy on how they're going to monetize those. WhatsApp took 14 years. Instagram sold for $1 billion before any revenue. Telegram, 8 years. Google had 500 million monthly searches before they made money.
Wow.
And in England, when I go to VCs, I'm like, we have 588% quarterly growth, 88% monthly revenue growth, because we still make some money.
Yeah.
The big opportunity here is getting millions of users into your platform and making money on the other side, on the back end. So many different ways to make money from customers. And it's that Trojan horse approach. And it's that price innovation. If you want lots of users, you can't have a paywall. We tested it out, right? There's an example with WhatsApp. They tried to charge users $1 for an annual subscription, and people went crazy, and that's for $1. So you have to have a great product, because someone else will come in and offer it for free, and you're dead. So VCs in England, they don't see the big opportunity, and it's frustrating. And you have a pathway, right, to millions in revenue, but it's at the sacrifice of short-term revenue, maybe in the hundreds of K. And it's like, what do you want? Do you want $1 million company, or do you want $1 billion company? I think my biggest success, is in a product, you need two things. You need to build a great product and get discovered. You don't need sales, don't need marketing. You just need discovery. Google, WhatsApp, Facebook, Tesla have no marketing. You just build a great product, but you need to be discovered. And we ask ourselves, what is the best way to get discovered? What is the best way? You can either pay for your marketing channels. You can pay Google $10K a month. You can be paying Facebook, Meta, or you can follow the vertically integrated owned route. You could build your own social media channels. You can build your own followers and own that space and have access to all those users and views for free. But the problem is social media is so crowded. It's so competitive. You're dealing with 4 billion people worldwide that have more time than you and more experience. So you have to really study it. You have to really go into details. So I went away for a year, and I built this 45-sheet document where I studied all of the social media gurus. I extracted all of their videos. I transcribed their videos. I summarized what each video was talking about, what was their key learning point. I looked at all my competitors in their history, what was the most popular videos, what went viral. I studied the algorithm, what makes a video go viral. And it's different rules if you're followed or unfollowed. There's different metrics. Do they share the video? Do they comment? Or do they exit the app? It's a formula. It's a mathematical formula. When you crack that formula and you build a video and you really plan every single word and you plan every single visual, every single audio, every single caption, the opening 3 seconds is so important. I have a list of the top 500 text hooks. Did you hear the news? You never guess what? And all these different things that you study. And then you put them together in a spreadsheet, you create the scripts, and then you post the videos. And all these different things, is there things moving in the background? Do they have a visual hook? When you build out that level of research and post videos, in our first month, we had 2.5 million views across all our channels. We had 5 videos go viral. We had 1 video that had 1 million views. And this was with 26 followers. The quality of video that has to be to get 1 million views with 26 followers is insane. We broke the algorithm. To create an algorithm, you have to create an algorithm score. So what you do to create the algorithm score is you make a varieties percentage, and you basically take the views and the followers. If someone has lots of followers and has good views, that's expected because they've got the audience that are going to see the videos. When you have hardly any followers and you have loads of views, that's top drawer content. So you divide those two by each other and you get a variety score.
Being pumped onto the For You page, that means.
Exactly. And we have more views in our first month than our competitors have in their entire history combined. So it just shows that when you do proper research, and we are going to own the space for tax, we're going to be authority for tax. We provide value. We give free live streams. People can ask questions. You have a free newsletter. You have tax tips. Provide all that value. You get people in. They sign up to your newsletter, and then you own them. So that's our strategy, and it's working really well. Yeah. So the reason why I say Apple is not a tech company is a number of reasons. If you look at Apple, the product itself, Apple doesn't actually make hardly anything of the product, the actual hardware. It's all made abroad. It's all outsourced. Samsung make the screen. Most of the chips are made in India. If you look at Steve Jobs, okay, he was sacked from Apple in 1985. He went away. He set up his own company, which would later become Pixar. The company was only valued at $5 million. They took him to a $3 billion valuation. Apple was then struggling. Apple invited him back. Again, Apple was a $3 billion company. Apple had 90 days to survive when Jobs took over. And look at his first product. It was the iMac. And the thing that made the iMac different to every other computer out there, it wasn't faster processor, it wasn't, more RAM, it wasn't more memory. It was just a different colours casing. He understood the importance of design to people. He understood how people wanted to be personalised. He wanted people to have a bit of character and a bit of personalisation. So that was an incredibly successful product. It really broke the mould, broke all records in for sales, 50 million sales. Ultimately, if you look at the actual product itself, it actually had no revolutionary tech. And I think he always knew this going forward. He would obsess around the design of the technology. His obsession was so detailed, he'd even worry about a plug. The plug had to be curved. And there's a very famous video where he's talking about Microsoft. And he's really going to town saying that what they ship is embarrassing, and I'd be embarrassed to be shipping that sort of product. And he knew people were visual buyers. He knew that people would be bought by marketing. He knew they have a good market strategy, creating this great brand that they've got. And so I always say Apple is a tech company. I mean, what product? I mean, Zuckerberg said this recently. What product has Apple built or innovated in recently? And it's really nothing. And the share prices are really struggling now. And if you ask an Apple user why they pick their phone, it's not for the technology, because they're years behind Samsung, really, really far behind. So Apple is a design company and have good marketing, and that's pretty much the basis of the business. I don't think, even though they're a tech company, I don't think they actually could be called a tech company in my opinion. There's different metrics and different reasons why people buy a product. It could be the design, it could be how easy it is to use, it could be how fast it is to use, or the price. And we live in an incredible time right now of innovation, and the innovation is moving so quickly that people are so prudent, they're so value driven, that if you can offer the same product for less money, they'll switch. And you really have to really constantly innovate with your pricing. And when you talk about Spotify and Netflix, why did they do so well? And it wasn't because they were designed the best. It wasn't because the UI or UX. It wasn't because the visuals. You go back to music and albums, if you remember, they were like 15 quid an album for one album. And blockbusters, right? 4 quid for one movie. Spotify came to market with unlimited albums for £4 a month. That value innovation, that 10x reduction in costs, really wipes out the entire market. It's so much value, so much music. And Netflix the same. Netflix had unlimited movies for £4 a month. And you could either get one movie from Blockbusters for 4 quid. So when you come to market, people always look at the product. I need to have amazing features. I need to have all these different technology. But ultimately, you also need to innovate in the price of your product. You need to offer great value, exceptional value, and get users. And when you have millions of users, it's other ways to milk a cow, and you can monetize that way. So that's why I say with Pi, the biggest lesson that we learned is we innovated with pricing. We are a free tax app. All those features, all that software for free, and no one can compete with that. Yeah, so what really sets Pi apart from our competitors is our speed of innovation. The bigger tax companies, Intuit, $180 billion company, to build a new product or new feature takes months, if not maybe years, of meetings, research, designing, testing. We will have a customer give us an idea on Friday night, early hours in the morning. We have a WhatsApp chat of all our pioneers, and we will discuss it on Monday. On the phone call, we'll have all the heads of department. We'll design it then and there, because design's a bottleneck, right? If you can improve design then and there, it's done. Otherwise, you have to go back and forward and back and forward. So we get design approved, we get consensus that the products and the features are a good idea. We go into production straight away. By Wednesday, Thursday, we release it, we test it. By Friday, we release it to the App Store. By Monday, users have the new feature. We do that every single week. We get real-time feedback from customers. What do you like? What don't you like? What features do you want? And that speed of innovation, we've got 4,500 screens in our app. It means that we're really building an exceptional app. We're really iterating at speed. And that pace of innovation, those improvements, customers loved features. You look at Monzo and Revolut, the neobanks. Why do people pick Monzo and Revolut? They pick them because they have so many better features than the traditional banks. And for and it's quick, it's easy to use, and tax apps need to do the same. I think if you look at great founders and if you look at great businesses, it's so difficult to get a business from zero to that $1 billion mark. It's so much involved, there's so many problems. There really has to be this life or death mentality on success, or you won't make it. It's so much easier to quit. It's so much easier to walk away. So when you have a founder that's put everything into their business, all their money, all their time, literally their whole life's relying on this business succeeding, that's the only way you could succeed. That's the only way you can make it, because anyone else can walk away from a problem. They can get another job, they can do their own business, they can go back straight into 9 to 5. But when you're a founder and you don't have that option, you've really got to be willing to die for your product. You literally have to be ready to put your life on the line, because the amount of negative impact to your health is so severe. It can cause you stress, it can cause you mental health issues, it can cause you health issues when you're so dedicated to making it work. And I think that mentality, it creates a mindset which you can't accept failure. You just have to find the answer, you just have to work harder, you just have to find solutions. So I think that's the mindset that you have to adopt with a company. Yeah, so my favourite memory of our first customer was we spent 3 years designing the app, building the app, developing the app. It was a very complex app to build, so many screens. And we kind of was like nervous to release the app in the App Store. And Monday morning came in and we had our Monday morning meeting online. Everyone was talking about the weekend. And then we got up the dashboard and we saw we had a customer, and we was all like really confused. It was like, what? How did they even find us? Because we hadn't advertised the app. There was no marketing at all. And we were just shocked that we had one customer, and we were so happy. We were so happy that someone had found our app and downloaded it and used it. And we were like, oh my God, this is actually real now. We've actually made an app that people want and they're using it. And it felt amazing, you know, and we're up to 50,000 downloads now in the first year. And we're still, you know, really, really excited and proud about, you know, all our achievements.